Okay, so long version of make sure you follow your own advice. Just to recap, if you didn't see the short, basically, three types of what these videos have become. Originally, they just started reviewing coffee, but we've been going for over a year now. So, of course, they evolved. And the three types of videos are generally uh, current event commentary, things that I find interesting right now, whether that be video games or AI stuff, which is also often current event commentary. Some of it all mixes together sometimes too, now that I'm thinking about it. The third one, which often mixes with the other two, is life advice. And it's not advice that I'm giving you guys, it's advice that I'm actually specifically giving myself, that I am just sharing with everyone more as a means of video journaling rather than for the purpose of creating content, you know? Even though I don't really go back and watch these, it really helps me to just go live and speak out my thoughts, to kind of write it down in my brain by recording these videos, so to speak. But some of it doesn't really sink in the way it should. And the big thing that didn't sink in was the whole take a victory lap video. And honestly, I didn't really fully think that one through because, as I say in the short, the analogy extends to, well, after the victory lap, you don't just immediately start another race. You take time to rest, to regain your energy and your focus, to do maintenance on the race car and all kinds of things, and probably need to ship up and move to another race and move to another location for the next race and all those kinds of things. So I didn't fully understand the analogy myself yet, and I didn't take the lesson to heart because I kept pushing, and I kind of had a little bit of a crash, not a crash out or any type of mental break, but it just got to a point where I totally lost my ability to focus or do work for a couple days. And here's the thing, that is often necessary. You need those resets, but you want to plan them, right? To make sure they happen when it's convenient. Fortunately, it happened to be a pretty convenient time. It basically just gave me a long weekend, and I didn't have anything else planned this week, as far as I'm aware. I hope I didn't miss anything important. But the important thing is, I'm feeling a lot better. I managed to actually finally get decent sleep for once, even though I'm still sleeping on the couch. I'm annoyed with myself a little bit because I plan to have the bedrooms basically done by now, or at least on the second phase, working on the floor, right? But it is what it is. I think one of the reasons there's two reasons I finally got some good sleep. It's still not great, but it's better than it has been. One is I actually just fully exhausted myself. I have been kind of forcing myself a little bit to adopt a more normal pattern so that I can create content consistently and interact with people at more normal times, which is ironic because that's another video that I ignored where I was just like, yeah, just do it your own way. Don't necessarily cater to societal norms. And I think that's maybe why I'm not getting good sleep, is because I haven't been truly tiring myself out. Uh, there's like multiple aspects of me. And I think I've been using when just one got tired as an excuse to go to sleep and start the next day when I wake up. But I think that's partially why I don't get good sleep, because the other aspects of me aren't tired yet and are still full of energy and are feeling unfulfilled. In particular, I have a competitive streak that I haven't really been catering to. That's not really the word I'm looking for, but it'll work lately. I used to play a lot of sports, team sports, particularly. A lot of hardcore PvP games, including Tarkov, but also before that, things like Overwatch, and never really good at Counter-Strike, but I was good at this Quake mod called Urban Assault, I think it was. I don't know why. Like, I was super good at that mod for whatever reason. Uh, it was crazy because I used to play like Unreal Tournament and Quake with some friends. One of them was my mod. Water Saint and Giant Dad are their screen names. You've probably gotten deleted by both of them in an Unreal Tournament lobby if you've ever played. They're both really, really good at the game. And it's one of those things where they'd be clearing 20 kills. I'd have like 5 or 7 type thing, you know? But then the three of us played Urban Assault, and for whatever reason, I was the one in the top of the lobby. And it's just like, oh, okay, maybe I'm just not bad at shooters. I'm just bad at certain shooters, you know? And one of the things is I'm definitely not an expert at clicking heads, right? But there are modern shooters where you don't really need to be great at that, but I'm also getting better. So even though I have a shitty mouse right now, like my mouse, my good mouse, my wireless gaming mouse died. So I'm back to using the old school wired gaming mouse. And one of the biggest improvements, like if you're struggling with shooting accuracy, I promise one of the best things you can do is get a wireless mouse. Now, back in the day, I used to not like wireless mice because they had a little bit of latency, and someone would turn on the microwave and it would stop working. But they are so much better now. Definitely don't have those problems usually. The only problem generally is charging and battery life. But I just would keep the USB cable plugged into my PC and use it temporarily for like a low level match, or even take a break and go. Never buy battery mice. You will spend $1,000 a year on batteries if you buy a battery mouse. Always get rechargeable mouse. Um, or just like go make a sandwich or something, you know, give it some time to recharge. And even with the wired mouse that I'm using, my backup old mouse right now, it's I'm kind of getting a little bit better at shooting. One of the reasons I know this is because the Warframes that I've been using recently. So one of the reasons I love Warframe is because it's like a shooter that you don't necessarily need to shoot. There are definitely weapon-based frames that it's your primary DPS is going to come from how accurate you are with your firearms, but there's also weapon-based frames that use melee as their primary damage output, or there's even caster frames that don't really use their weapons at all and mostly have them for stat sticks to proc arcanes or give extra combo or something like that. Well, the extra combo is for the melee based frames, but don't worry about that. We're getting needlessly complex. The point is, uh, I've generally preferred either caster based frames or melee based frames, with one exception being Titania. She's kind of a caster, but she's also a weapon based frame. But she uses dual machine pistols that are kind of just spray and pray, right? So while you're aiming for heads, and I generally get lots of headshots, it's not pinpoint accuracy type stuff, which is what I've always struggled with. Back when I was playing a bunch of Overwatch with Water Saint, we all started playing the original Overwatch back in the beta. The cool thing about Overwatch is they have all different kinds of aiming, you know? They have like the flick shots, which stuff like Widowmaker and Cassidy, still want to call them by the old name. Uh, they have more spray and pray type stuff a little bit, which is like um, Reaper to some extent. What else? I feel like there's another one that's even better. I can't just think of it right now. Um, but then they've also got ones that are more about tracking, particularly the beam characters like Symmetra and Zarya, and honestly, Sombra's kind of like that too. Oh, uh, Tracer's kind of spray and pray. But it's important to note that in Overwatch, since gunplay is so important, even with the spray and pray characters like Tracer and Reaper, you still want to get as many headshots as possible. A good Tracer or a good Reaper will delete you before you even know that you're being attacked, right? Uh, but then there's characters like Moira, Symmetra, um, the tank. I already said her name. It's been so long since I played the game, but I forget it. Uh, that are tracking characters. And one of the things I noticed was I'm better at tracking actually back then. I don't know anymore, but I'm way better at tracking than my friends who are really good at flicking. There's also projectile based characters with travel time, especially the AoE splash damage ones like Pharah. I'm great at, but still nowhere near as good as Water Saint. And that's primarily because of the movement, right? So I think one of the reasons I was good at urban assault is because the movement is different. It's more realistic compared to something like Quake or Unreal Tournament, where you have a lot of movement options with bunny hopping and momentum and all that stuff. So not only am I not as good at anticipating that kind of movement in my brain, like I remember back in the original Call of Duty days, I used to hate it when crouch sliding became a thing. Uh, I was great until that like became something you could do really effectively in the game. I played like the OG Call of Duties, and I much preferred Medal of Honor and Battlefield because those had more realistic movement. At least they used to. Like now, Battlefield is just trying to be a Call of Duty clone instead of sticking to its guns, literally. So I guess I just need to ramble on this one for a bit, but that's fine. I'm clearing all the thoughts out of my head so I can get back to focusing on my work. Uh, in particular, I really love Marvel Rivals. I have found that it's basically everything that Overwatch should have been and could have been. I think the best season of Overwatch was season one. And I think the really annoying thing they did with Overwatch is the same thing you see happening with most video games today, where they just keep oversimplifying them and dumbing them down for a wider audience. And I think that's the whole reason why Overwatch never really took off as a major esport, you know? It had immense esport potential, especially in the first season and pre-first season, but the writing was on the wall the moment they made Lucio's wall jump easier. If you're not aware, you didn't used to be able to just hold spacebar to stick on the wall. You had to bunny hop to stay on the wall. And I was a season one Lucio and Rhine main. I only played Pharah during the beta, but once the because I used to play a bunch of Team Fortress Classic, and Pharah's basically soldier with a jetpack. Uh, I never liked Team Fortress 2. I felt like they ruined Team Fortress Classic with Team Fortress 2. The only thing I would play in Team Fortress 2 was Axe Pyro just for the memes. I never was able to take that game seriously. So all I wanted to do was run around axing people with Pyro and that. But uh, once the game got more serious and it wasn't just a beta, I like kind of locked in as either Rhine or Lucio. Also was really good at early Symmetra before they reworked her. But to be fair, she was broken when she could just throw the shield out. She was basically tank and DPS at the same time that didn't need a healer because she had shield health. I would hard carry. That was the only DPS I could hard carry on until they nerfed her to the ground. And once they made the Lucio wall run just brain dead easy, that's when I knew the writing was on the wall. They didn't actually kill the game until they put Brigitte in it, That was really the nail in the coffin, and it's just been like resurrected and zombified ever since then. Instead of fixing the one broken character, they broke the entire rest of the game around her. Notice how there's still no role queue in Marvel Rivals, and Marvel Rivals is doing amazing right now. Role queue did not exist before Brigitte, and she was a the role queue was a response to goats, which was, I think, three healers, three tanks. And if you notice, the three heal meta in Marvel Rivals is alive and well. But of course, every time I play it, I've got teams that are trying to run 3 DPS, and they're like, "Bro, why are we losing?" It's like, because we've got 3 DPS and one of them is a Spider-Man that is going 0 and 15. Anyways, um, so I don't play competitive in Marvel Rivals specifically for that reason. I would do it if I had a team, if I had a squad of at least three people, and I knew we could get three people together to cover specific roles and gaps. But I just play quick play for fun. And this past week, I think I played for about 24 hours straight with one 20 to 30-minute break, maybe an hour break to eat dinner. And I honestly haven't played the game in 6 months, and it was to the point where I kind of forgot how to play most of the characters that I was good at. It may have even been longer than 6 months. I haven't really paid attention to the last time I played it. But uh, there were three things I really needed that I didn't realize I wasn't giving myself. I needed time to just veg out and get into that competitive flow, right? That doesn't happen with Warframe at all. Warframe, it's constantly, especially when you're working on new builds or stuff, it's PvE grind, right? Which is somewhat fulfilling, but also exhausting at the same time. It's to the point where I don't even know if I'm going to run the circuit at all this week. I kind of hate the Duviri circuit, and it really annoys me that the best weapons or the best modifiers for old weapons in the game are locked behind it. I don't want any of this stuff this week, except I might do normal circuit to farm the Warframe, but I've never used the Boltor. Well, I did like when I was like mastery rank 7 or whatever, when when I unlocked that during the mastery rank grind, and it was like cool, but it's it's probably pretty good, but at the same time I'm just over the Duviri grind. And at this point, I kind of only want to farm Incarnons that I have primes or wraiths or tenets or vandal versions of the weapons for, or that are just really good on their own. Like I have the Nami solo, and I don't know if I have the Incarnon for that or not, but that's one that I would farm the Incarnon for. That's a pretty good weapon. It's a pirate cutlass, which is awesome. The the thing about Marvel Rivals though is it definitely scratches that competitive itch even when I'm playing solo casual queue. Because here's the thing. I don't care to like one chat with the team in casual. I'm in voice chat, but usually in casual, it's just like people talking to their mom or like hot micing while they have some weird shit going on in the background. So I generally end up just immediately muting those people. Or the one time that it's someone that's actually talking to the team, they're just being annoying and toxic as shit. And it's like, bro, like go play LOL or try doing that in competitive if you really need to play this game. Like, don't talk shit on people in the quick play casual mode. I find that so annoying. Like, yes, I think it's annoying that we have 3 or 4 DPS every single match, and it's always the bad Spider-Man that's on my team. There are good Spider-Mans in the game. I've seen them, but they always end up on the other team for some reason. So, uh, even though I play it pretty competitively and pretty hardcore in quick play, I don't ever care what other people are doing. There was one game, we had 6 tanks for most of the game, and it was a lot of fun. I upvoted everyone on that team, even though we got our asses kicked, except one person. And it was because they switched off tank. And of all the people they could have switched to, they switched to fucking Jeff. Jeff is the most useless and annoying character in the game. Uh, like, it's so frustrating to have a Jeff on the team. I would rather have an Ultron than a Jeff, usually. Um, but, like, I don't say shit to anyone. Uh, I always think it's funny watching people rage out post game in quick play, especially because it's like, one, it's quick play. So people are learning new characters or they aren't trying super hard. They're just there to have fun. And you're clearly not having fun because you're getting angry over a quick play match. And the second thing is it's usually the person who um, is talking the most shit is the person who was the weakest link. Because it's like, even if they have 15 eliminations and uh, the most final blows on the team, it's often because they were just playing really selfishly and weren't helping the team at all. It's like, yeah, you got all those kills, but none of them really provided value because they had a Black Panther that was crashing our healers the whole time. And if you had just protected our healers, we would have won, right? So it's one of those things where I don't engage with those type of people. I just ignore them. I block them. And if they're really actually super toxic, I will report them. But I think I've only reported like 2 or 3 people over that 24 hours of playing the game straight. I forgot how much I love that game, to be honest. That's the second thing. I said there were 3 things. One, I just needed to scratch that competitive itch. There's PvP in Warframe, but it's terrible. It's it's almost as bad as Destiny's PvP. It's a little bit more balanced, but there are still some balancing issues, and it's primarily because they don't really pay attention to PvP. Almost no one plays PvP in Warframe. Uh, So the second thing is that I really just enjoyed the game. Like I forgot how much fun Marvel Rivals can be. When it comes to Marvel or DC, I'm definitely more of a D of a more of a DC, more of a Marvel person. Uh, one of my I never was like big into comics or stuff like that. My parents wouldn't let me have comics really. They saw it as a negative influence. The first comic that I ever had was Watchmen, and that was because it was a visual novel that was required reading for a class, I think, or optional reading or something. Something like that. And Watchmen is amazing if you haven't read that, by the way. And it's one of the few movies that I feel like the movie basically does the source material justice. They change one or two things, but it would have been hard to keep that in the movie without making the movie 5 hours long. I got the storage low warning, so it's time to wrap it up. The third thing is they finally have a character that I really, really love. Like I said, Iron Man's historically been my favorite hero. Um, I absolutely enjoy playing him. When I do play DPS, he's my number one pick, and I'll go like 20-1. I absolutely love just raining fire down on people from the air. I wish Ultron were better because I would love to have a flying healer option. My top healer is Mantis. She's just OP and everything. I'm okay with Rocket, but I kind of suck using his gun. And 90% of that playtime, though, on the 24 hours was all on Angela. That is by far my favorite character. I've always been like a tank main in a way, you know. Played Reinhardt in Overwatch Season 1, after all. In Elder Scrolls Online, my first character was a tank, and I had a tank in every class until I stopped playing that game. But uh, originally, I was playing a lot of Doctor Strange, and I'll use Penny Parker when heals and DPS aren't doing their job, which is almost every other game. But my favorite character by far in the entire game, and the one that I can just play endlessly without ever getting exhausted, is Angela. Like her mobility, uh, just I will dominate with her if I have a good team. And even when I don't have a good team, I feel like she's one of the only characters I can pretty much always do something with. Don't get me wrong, there's always that one game where like it's a whole lobby diff and it's like you can't do anything because it's like the other team's grandmasters and your entire team is bronze, and it's like how is this so unbalanced? But it happens both ways, you know. I've had games where there was one match I went 24-0, and the other team couldn't get out of the spawn with Angela. And I think I had 15 final kills, that 15 final blows that match. I was blowing up. But the some of that is bot games, to be fair, but I've also been on the receiving end of those games where it feels like your entire team is bots, and maybe that's true, right? Maybe it's like one or two players stuck with a bot team. I don't know exactly how the bot games work in that, but I know they exist, but I think maybe they reduced them. The point is, though, I really needed that just little bit of a break where I wasn't streaming. I was just All right. I don't remember exactly what I was saying. I was doing my best to wrap it up, but I ran out of space, and it just keeps getting worse and worse on this phone, right? It's got abysmal storage, to be honest, but I'm doing my best. I need to go through and edit and post old videos. But the point was, I really needed that moment of, oh, yeah, all right, let me use this to refocus and take a moment to gather my thoughts. The three little things I wanted to talk about were: one, I needed to scratch that itch of highly competitive, short burst gameplay versus the long, relatively easy, drawn out grind of Warframe. I hadn't been, I'd been leaning too much into the poet aspect without giving the warrior the love he needed, you know? So just getting into a highly competitive game like that for a while was very helpful. And I'm going to start rotating Marvel Rivals into the stream content again. The second thing is, I don't remember what the second thing was. But the third thing was, I needed time just off stream to game for a while. Because I was a gamer long before I was a streamer. And unlike Cece, as far as I could tell. Uh, so for me, it was a hobby and a pastime before it became work. And even when I was talking about taking that victory lap day, I was still approaching it as work, you know, going live to do the Warframe grind on the weekend for Duviri and stuff like that. And even when I end up taking that day of rest, it's still kind of almost work because I've been doing the Warframe grind before the weekly reset, and it's more stressful than it is relaxing. And I guess I just didn't realize that, but I'm learning to not care about the weekly reset on Warframe anymore. I'm still probably going to do content for that, but I think two things I need to do on my day off more is just play games that are simply fun, like Warframe. The other thing I played a little bit this weekend was Space Engineers. I really missed that game. And in case you haven't heard it, it's basically Minecraft in space. And since the last time I played it, they've made some updates to the survival mode. And I started a new private server, but I was having fun with that, even though I died a bunch of times because I didn't exactly get the settings right on the server. I want to change some of the modifiers, but I eventually found my groove, even with the difficulty a little bit too high. I had to fully reset twice because I have it set for permadeath, whereas if your respawn gets destroyed, you lose everything and have to reset. Uh, I had a lot of fun, even though I did that, and it was kind of frustrating. And it was like hours. I was like, man, I could be grinding to get better at Marvel Rivals, or I could be grinding to do my weekly reset. But I was like, no, I'm gonna have fun and just dig a hole in this rock. I needed to just game and be a gamer again instead of a streamer for a little bit. So definitely take your own advice, right? And don't forget your roots either, where you really came from, who you really are inside. And growth isn't about changing who you are. It's just about becoming the best possible version of yourself. And you can't do that if you forget yourself. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do this week, but I'll know I'll get it figured out. And it'll all happen in due time. And I believe it all happens according to God's will and God's timing, as long as you're humble enough to let Him take the wheel. So we're just going to wrap up and say, make sure you're armed and training. De-Google yourself. Delete Windows. I love all of you, and God bless America. Cheers.